often when people contact me, they're like, I like this and that about my home, but I just don't get how to pull it all together. And
Yeah.
so it's my pleasure to share with you some of the principles of design that can make such a tremendous difference in your room makeover plans. I'm going to click to the next one. Here we go. Have you ever walked into a room and simply said to yourself, "This room just feels right"? Well, and you might say that when you're in the home of some of your dog sitting people. I'm sure you know that it takes a lot of planning and preparation to make sure that everything works together beautifully in any design plan. So I'm going to take you on a little journey through the design principles that I use in my business every single day with every single client. Here are the 6 principles of design that make a difference: balance, scale, proportion, emphasis, harmony, and rhythm. That's a lot to chew on. So we're only going to chew on the first 3 on the left side tonight. And I'll be showing you examples of each of these principles. Balance. The proper distribution of objects and elements in a room to create equilibrium. Balance is truly visual equilibrium in a space, almost like a seesaw. One part of the room needs to work in harmony with the other part. When you see a room that incorporates proper balance, you see a room where accessories and furnishings work together to create a beautiful space.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, and we only just got started. So there's 3 types of balance: symmetrical, asymmetrical, and radial. Symmetrical balance gives everything a bit more of a formal appearance. 2 sides of a room mirror each other with like objects. Rooms featuring this type of balance can give you a feeling of order, calmness, and stillness in the space. Let's look at a few room designs that feature symmetrical balance. So, did somebody just come in?
No, someone sent me a message.
Okay, cool.
Right.
So symmetrical balance. This room design is a perfect example because it shows you how the 2 sides of the room perfectly mirror one another with the mirrors, the lamps, the side tables, with like objects. Everything is perfectly balanced and orderly. Bedrooms are often planned with, whoopsie, away.
Was that a window behind the bed?
It was, and that kind of made me think too. I wouldn't necessarily do that, but that's what they did in that that image. Sometimes it has to be done if you have.
Sure.
Uh-oh. Are you seeing my screen still?
Yes.
Huh. Okay.
I'm on 6 principles of design make the difference.
Right. Okay. Here we go. Next.
Balance.
What did I just do? Okay. There we go. So we looked at that room, and then the next room is also a bedroom. Bedrooms are, often planned with symmetrical scheme for obvious functional reasons. Access on both sides of the bed and use of a table and lighting. So this is another room that has symmetrical balance. Here's another example of symmetrical balance. Relatively small space Features 2 identical accent chairs, 2 matching lamps, and a bookshelf display that's equally weighted with accessories on each side. The client's collection of globes clearly offered the starting point for the design. The custom upholstered gray toned sofa is perfectly centered, with accent pillows assisting the overall symmetrical design of the room.
Pretty.
Yeah, it's a fun room. Whoopsie, wrong way. Alrighty. This is a living room project that I was able to complete just recently when the restrictions were eased locally. I stuck this in because it offers an opportunity to describe my typical clients. They tend to be the analytical sort. In this case, both husband and wife work for Vanguard. And people who rely on spreadsheets and graphs tend to feel more at ease in rooms that are balanced symmetrically and tidy. In fact, the husband said, you know, I'm going to go crazy if it's not perfectly symmetrical, which was funny. So I threw in a bit of asymmetry in the arrangement of accessories on the console that sits opposite the seating grouping. And they accepted it because it did balance out the room nicely. So this previously vacant space now serves as a peaceful getaway for them while they work from home and manage their children. You know, they're still needing to work from home at this time. So the timing was great for them.
It's very nice.
Oops. We're still unsymmetrical. This gorgeous room from my brownstone project in Philly is clearly a more formal space. I'd always wanted to plan a room with 2 sofas that were parallel like this.
Yes, I love that.
I thought it was, you know, dramatic and elegant. And the funny thing was, at the time that I was working on this project with this client, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, did you watch that show?
Not yet. It's on my list.
Oh, it's a perfect thing to watch now that you have to be at home more. It's so fun. And she and I both dug this show, and we were binge watching it. And if you've watched it, one of the main sets is the parents' living room. And they have 2 red velvet Chesterfield sofas. And so that inspired me, along with the cocktail table. So it was pretty fun. And this room, however, has a bit of asymmetrical balance too. You might notice that niche on the right side, you know, that's an architectural element that we had to work with. So to balance that out, we placed the custom social cabinet on the left. And it actually makes the room more visually interesting to not have it totally symmetrical, and makes it fun.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful.
So on to asymmetrical balance. Rooms of this type of balance have lines, colors, forms, and textures visually balanced without duplication. Design elements on either side of an imaginary center line are unmatched, but appear to be in balance with equal visual weight. Asymmetrical balance is typically a bit more informal in its makeup. Often this type of balance is a little more difficult to achieve because you're looking at the visual weight of objects as well. Notice in this gorgeous room how the artwork on the left is balanced by the twig arrangement and the light fixture on the left. This room design is also a great example of how visual weight of design elements can be used effectively.
That's amazing.
In this room, we see a more traditional take on asymmetrical balance. To me, this room showcases both symmetrical and asymmetrical balance beautifully. Notice the small mirrors flanking the artwork and the accent cupboard, very symmetrical. But the sofa is upholstered in a light fabric that creates less visual weight so that your eye is drawn to the objects with pattern or saturated color that have more visual weight, like the ottoman and chest. The two side chairs help balance the large sofa because of the pattern and the design used on them. And the large artwork also helps balance the tall windows featured in this room. Radial balance is the third type of balance that we designers use in a room. It's created when a central focal point showcases elements radiating from it or around it. In this room design, we see a gorgeous leather curved sofa and accent chairs surrounding the stunning cocktail table.
Beautiful.
In summarizing balance, this room design exemplifies all three types of balance. We see symmetrical balance in the artwork and accessory display on the back wall. Can you imagine this wall display without the sunburst or the urns on the top shelves? By adding them, the room not only becomes much more visually interesting, but also helps balance the room's high ceilings. The two accent chairs, differing in color and pattern, along with one being placed a bit off-center, add some interesting asymmetry to the room. The furniture arrangement centers around the leather ottoman, giving us just a glimpse of radial balance. Every design element works in harmony with one another. Scale is our next design element. It's the size of objects and elements in a room. Scale refers to the size of objects and elements compared with the space in which they are enclosed. Every piece of furniture in a room should relate in scale to other pieces, although that doesn't mean that they must be all the same size. Doesn't it stand to reason that many small pieces of furniture would appear lost in a large room? And conversely, a baby grand piano in a small room would occupy too much space, right? Scale is often referred to in comparison to the human scale as well. Let's take a look at some examples of proper scale. Whoopsie. All righty. You still with me?
I am.
I just need some reinforcement here. In this dramatically designed room, the bright red color of the painting over the sofa commands attention and gives it visual weight. But the scale of this piece would be much too small if placed alone over the sofa. So by adding the oval artwork beside it, this entire art arrangement now becomes proportional in scale to the sofa and the height of the wall. Now, try to imagine the sofa without the accent pillows or the trim banding. Even though the physical size of the sofa is in correct proportion to the artwork, it has little visual weight because it doesn't contrast with the wall color.
It's so interesting.
Here's another great example of large scale furniture in a large room. Notice the coffee table and the shelving unit. They have open design that tends to give them less visual weight, though they're actually very large pieces. If the shelves were a solid wall unit, the piece might feel overscaled to the light colored upholstered furniture in the room. Notice the scale of the accessories and the lamp as well. They're very large, and it helps bring them into proportion with the furnishings and room size.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Here we see a very large sofa, sectional sofa, which demands a very large space. Sometimes it's the seemingly small things that make such a difference in the room's design. Notice the leather ottoman in the center. This tufting design adds texture, which lends more visual weight to the piece. Also, the large pattern on the chair and the pillows help to bring them into proper scale with the sofa.
I never thought of that, like the size of the design on the fabric. That's interesting too, how that is important for the balancing or the scale also.
Yeah.
It's
And you know what's funny? I mean, I've so incorporated these principles into what I do that I almost don't know that I do them. You know,
yeah.
like if you exercise, you know proper body mechanics and you don't almost
Mm.
know that you do it.
It's
Um,
like you have a good eye for that.
yeah. So preparing for this made me have to break it down. Yeah.
Good.
So we're going to go on to the next one, which is proportion, which focuses on how all the pieces in your room, furniture, lighting, artwork, area rugs, and window treatments relate to each other and the space in which they're being used. Um, One way to understand it is, say you see a very short woman wearing a big loose dress with padded shoulders, long sleeves, and a long hemline. You would immediately know that this outfit is not right for her figure and therefore out of proportion, right?
Right.
The rooms in your home can be viewed in the same way.
Huh.
A lamp with too small or too big of a shade will appear out of sync in the setting. Or say two small 10-inch square pillows would look lost if placed on a long 80-inch sofa. So let's take a look at some rooms that demonstrate good proportion. Proportion is truly the balance of the design elements, the design elements of the room, space, shape, color, and texture. Achieving correct proportions in a room is done by repeating shapes, colors, and textures.
Wow.
As our eyes
Wow.
wander around this beautifully designed room, we see many elements of good proportion. The large print above the desk, um, topped by the two smaller prints, fill in the wall space perfectly and help to anchor the simple desk. The simple desk alone, would be kind of naked looking. Um, and this arrangement balances the large furniture piece on the opposite side of the fireplace.
Very nice.
The
So nice.
Sorry, what did you say, Diana?
Oh, it was so nice. Oh, the way this is done. It's so interesting. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Lots of details go into making the whole. The accent chair and sofa are the right size and proportion for this room's available space. Not too large, clean lines, simple details. And the size and design of the coffee table fills the space between the chair and sofa perfectly. The lamp atop the round accent table is displayed at the right height for the sofa, and the shade is proportionate to the table. Again, this room feels just right, don't you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, beautiful.
um, I'm gonna have to place you in the crowd in future presentations. You're a good heckler, good reinforcement.
Anytime, anytime. I'll be, if you could repeat this same thing like 5 times, I'm going to just notice more and more every time. It's just great.
Yeah, it's like going into a great gift shop or something. You have to.
Right, right. See
So
something different each time you make a round.
yeah. So in this one, color is also an important player in proportion. And bouncing color around a room helps give your room balance and exciting visual interest. Have you ever heard of the golden mean?
No.
Okay. The golden mean is a relation found in proportions of the human body, musical formations, and architectural formulas. The general rule of thumb is 60-30-10 ratio of color. So here you see, so there's 60% of main color, 30%
Ah,
of secondary, and 10% of accent or splash color. So what color do you see as the primary color of this room?
oh, gosh. Um, is it the blue?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
right. And then the secondary color, which would be more like 30%, is green, and then the 10% is the sort of cherry red orange color. Fun, huh?
Okay, so are you on proportion still?
Say again, please.
Are you on proportion?
Yes.
Okay, so here you're talking about color, okay? And I was wondering when color would how you would bring color, the concept of color into the principles. So I mean, you answered my question because I thought, I mean, this is probably a really old-fashioned way of decorating, but it's almost like I thought color was one of the primary subjects you would start with. I could be so wrong, and then again, style of furniture. I know I'm getting off on a tangent here.
I get that. And still, all these elements apply.
Okay.
Style and shape and such of furniture needs to be balanced out. Even color, it needs to be distributed around the room in a balanced way and in proper proportion to one another. So it still applies to those things.
Good. I see that now, and I'm even looking at the rug, how that pulls the colors together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not too loud. It's soft, and it works. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of layers.
Yeah, I like that.
A lot of times, I can imagine presenting that rug to somebody and them saying, "Oh my God, that's just too busy."
Right.
But once you realize that it's going to be covered and coordinated with other things, it all, in fact, as you said, that brings it all together. Often I start with the rug because it's one of the bigger elements of the room, whereas most people tend to think they should start with the wall color. And usually what I do—
too hard. Yeah, that's too hard.
Yeah.
Because you're looking for things that blend with the wall cover and color, and it may not be in trend, and you may have a very difficult time finding things that go with that color that somebody might be really set on.
You are so right. I finished a room last week that was a real victory because this young couple had painted the wall. I usually tell people to paint last after we planned the whole room.
Yes.
But this young couple had painted the room like apricot orange, which was it was a really unusual color. It wasn't orange and it wasn't yellow, and it's not a very popular color. And their idea was that they're really cute. This was a guest room, and they had 4 guest rooms, so they wanted them to be each have a theme of one of the seasons of the year. So this was the fall room. But you're so right. It was hard. It can be hard to match certain colors. So
that's a good example. That's interesting.
So here we go. And you'll find the golden mean in this neutral room as well. The light tan that's used is about 60%. The warm caramel shade is about 30%. And the slate gray found on the side chair, the textured fabric on the side chair, is about 10%. But notice, speaking of colors, how all the colors are repeated in different values on the pillows, ottoman, chairs, and hutch. So the artwork, brings it all together, kind of like you were saying about the rug before.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice.
So it creates unity in the room. Whoopsie. Oh, way. Alrighty. So remember, a beautiful room doesn't happen overnight. It takes careful planning, what pieces you wish to keep, to add, and of course, how to plan to display these pieces in your finished design to create the room of your dreams. So let's take a look at some room design makeovers done by me and some of my Decorating Den Interiors colleagues that incorporate the three design elements that I've been sharing with you today: balance, scale, and proportion. Oops. So this is a before picture, obviously. Chaos, right?
What room is it in the home?
Well, it's a kitchen slash breakfast room.
I see. Okay.
And so often my clients are moving into homes with a different scale, whether it's upsizing or downsizing than their previous homes. And so the transition can feel really overwhelming. This couple was smart to call me in just before making the move to their carriage home in Newtown Square. This is actually in Lister. Since their previous home had much lower ceilings, they needed help with arranging their existing furniture in ways that fit the new open plan with higher ceilings, and then to help them fill in the blanks, so to speak, with new furniture that not only was in correct scale for the space, but also updated their look. This is what came of it.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful.
I'm glad you.
Wow.
This is a simply elegant radial scheme. I mean, round tables lend themselves obviously to a radial scheme. The light fixture is in perfect proportion to the round table. The scale of the table works well to allow movement in this cozy breakfast area, particularly since, you know, there's an egress from the porch and from the great room and from the kitchen. You need a lot of circulation space. And think about this, without the pattern valances, the bold rug would cause the room to feel sort of bottom heavy. But the valances take your eye up, and the high seat backs kind of visually connect the two. The artwork fills in the area to the left of the left window, which makes the shorter valance and shorter window feel like it's in equal weight.
Oh, right. I see that.
Other one.
Mm-hmm.
So here's another project. This one's in Westchester. When I first visited this home, the furniture was spread out in an effort to fill the space, yet it felt sparse and just really unwelcoming. So instead of spreading the furniture out, I advised them to pull it into the center of the room and ground it with an area rug. And already,
that's the same room? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they painted it blue, and the contrast was really nice. But already the furnishings were in better proportion because they related to one another. And the lovely etagères flanking the television not only balanced out the weight of the sectional, but also mirrored the spacing of the windows. And do you see how the golden mean appears in the blue, gray, and cream color scheme?
Oh, bravo. Beautiful. Yes.
So this is a yucky one. The last makeover I have to share with you today begins with this before picture, a basement area in a home that's been neglected for quite a while. These homeowners wanted to recreate a stylish upscale space for entertaining family and friends. Colors,
lighting. Let's talk about the lighting. Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
It really does make a difference. You're right.
Beautiful.
But it illuminates the color. The color really sets the stage for this room. And again, it's in correct proportions. The 60-30-10 rule. The radially balanced furniture placement creates an attractive conversation grouping. And the furniture pieces are definitely in proper scale and proportion to the room. The window treatment frames this relatively small window beautifully and adds height and proportion. The valance above makes it look like it's a much bigger window. The window
Right.
actually starts about where that orange stripe is.
Good
So
idea.
can you visualize a room, even little things like the accent pillows, can you visualize it without the accent pillows on the curved sectional? No,
Hmm.
because that brings it all together, right?
Absolutely.
So it's a very inviting room, and these homeowners were thrilled with this makeover.
Ah, beautiful.
So guess what? Since you joined me today, you are automatically the winner of the door prize.
You're so sweet.
You got something.